Isn't it amazing what light can do? Even just a small amount of light. I mean, can you think back when you were a kid? Or maybe you were afraid of the dark? Or let me rephrase that question. How about how many of you are still afraid of the dark? I have small children. I have two of them. And they are afraid to sleep in the dark. So thank God for night lights. Now, when my kids were smaller, they used to sleep in a bunk bed, but both of them would sleep at the bottom. And the light needed to be on. But however, I draped a blanket over their bed because they needed to have a cave. And just that small amount of light that pierced through that blanket, that's all they needed to be comfortable for them to sleep. Now today I'm going to share with you about how Jesus is the light of the world. And but He desires to be the light of your world. In John 8:12, it says, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Now first, let me give you some context. Jesus makes this statement, I am the light of the world, immediately after we are told about the woman who was caught in the act of adultery, and now this was the darkest moment in her life. And so she was caught in adultery, and now we are told that the teachers of the law and the Pharisees, they brought the woman caught in adultery and they brought her to stand before the crowd. Now this woman was caught in the act, but where's the man? How come she is the only one that was brought to Jesus? Well, she was probably not looking her best. She was probably not even fully clothed. But it doesn't get any darker than that. She was probably full of shame. She was humiliated, embarrassed. Now this could very well be the end of her life. You see, in the law, this was one of the worst sins punishable by death. She must be put to death. She must be stoned. Now first, we have to understand that the law reveals our sin. Paul in Romans 7 says, I would have not known what sin was if it was not for the law. Truth is, we all have sinned. We all have lied. We all have stolen. We all have lusted. Romans also tells us that we all have sinned. Therefore, we all fall short of the glory of God. And so it is not until we see ourselves as sinners that we see the need for a Savior. That's when we recognize the darkness in our lives. Now, when light comes, it reveals the need of a Savior. It becomes appealing. And Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Now, what does the light do? It reveals our sin. It reveals our guiltiness. And so the Pharisees say, what do we do? This woman was caught in the act of adultery. Jesus, what do you think we should do? And so the story continues. But Jesus he bent down, and he was starting to write something on the ground with his finger. Now we don't know exactly what he was writing, but some speculations say that he was probably writing the accusers' names in what their sins were. For example, 1, what were you doing yesterday at 2? Hey Antonio, what were you doing this morning? We also read that when they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and he said to them, let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her. If any of you are perfect, never done anything wrong, you can pick up a rock and throw it and be the first one to stone her. Isn't it so easy to see the sins of others and overlook our very own sins? If you have not sinned, you can throw the first stone. So again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to go away, one at a time, the oldest one first, until Jesus was left with that woman still standing there. Now Jesus straightened up and asked her, woman, condemned you? No one, sir, she said. Then neither do I condemn you. The older ones first. Why? Well, we don't know for sure, but probably they had more sins. Their list was much bigger. They all left, the oldest and then the youngest. The woman was left there, full of shame, full of guilt. She was left alone with Jesus, broken and hurting. Now Jesus said, then neither do I condemn you. Was the woman guilty? Yes. Did the woman deserve punishment according to the law? Yes, of course. Now Jesus looks at this woman in her darkest moment in her life and says, where are they? Where are your accusers? Then neither do I condemn you. When Jesus shines His light into our darkness, something incredible happens. Because when light is shined into darkness, instantly light wins. Darkness never defeats light. I am the light of the world. It really is that simple. You see, the law, it reveals our sin. We are guilty. Love reveals God's grace. It is abundant. But light, it reveals our hope, which is eternal. Now, it is one thing to know Jesus as the light of the world, but it's something else completely different to know Jesus as the light of your world. The head knowledge, it is transformed into heart knowledge. And so, when He is no longer just the light of the world, but becomes the light of your world, then that changes everything. Now, we all face dark situations in our lives, and Jesus is here to light up our world. He will work out all things for good. There is no darkness that is too dark for Jesus. Light always wins. He wants to be the light of your world.